Let's talk all about boat clubs today. They're becoming super popular, and we're going to dive into the details, what they are, who they're for, the pros and cons, and then if you stick around to the end, some tips about joining a boat club, how to get the best deal. I am Captain Matt, the author of the book Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, host of the channel. So let's dive in. What is a boat club? Well, if you look at it like a timeshare, you can join to have access to a group of boats. There's typically a joining fee and then a monthly membership fee. The joining fee can be $500 up to several thousand, 5,000 or more, depending on the type of boats in your location. And then there's a monthly membership fee. Now, this monthly membership fee, there may be tiers depending on what you get access to. And for some areas of the country, typically in the northern parts, it may be just over the 6-month period when you can use the boats. In the south, usually it's a 12-month commitment. Now, membership levels. The membership levels are based on two things: the number of reservations you can make and the type of boats that you get access to in some cases. Reservation limits. Typically, a boat club is going to have half-day reservations, which are around 4 hours, and they're going to be designated time frames. So 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 3 to 7 p.m., okay? That's the time frame, and the reservations means that you can reserve a boat in advance with one of your reservation tokens, let's call them. So at a basic level, you might get 2 reservation tokens, and you can use 2 reservations active at any one time. Once you use that boat and that reservation's used up, you get that back and you can rebook a boat in the future, okay? The other restriction is going to be on the type of boats. The base level, which everybody can reserve, might be the basic boats. And they may have some premium boats, maybe a surf boat, a larger center console with better electronics, maybe a cruiser, maybe a higher horsepower pontoon, but just something extra that is going to cost you extra typically on just the monthly amount that you can get access to that level of boats and reserve them, okay? The only other expense you have is you got to pay for gas. They give you a full boat. You give half a tank, then you pay for half a tank of fuel at the end of the day. They charge your card, and that's all you owe. Damage. If you damage the boat, so if you run it aground and you ding up the prop, hey, you got to pay for 150, 500, $1,500 for a new prop, depending on the boat. Or if you damage it and you smash the fiberglass, that repair will default to you, and you'll have to pay for that. So what are the pros and cons? Well, let's look at the pros first. You got no cleaning, no maintenance, no hassle. You don't have to pay for insurance. All of that stuff is included in your upfront and your monthly amount. It's the easiest way to boat for sure. You can have access to multiple boating styles depending on the club. So you have the pontoons when you just want to go for a cruise. You got the fishing boats when you want to go fishing. You got the bow riders and the water sports and the higher horsepower pontoons when you want to go doing water sports. You've got the fancy boat when you're entertaining clients. And you can use all these different boats for one amount. You don't have to have multiple boats and maintain them. Some of the clubs will have reciprocal properties. So we'll talk about some of the clubs in a bit. But like Freedom, they've got the most spots out there. You can join your local club, but if you go on vacation, now I can go and I can use a boat and use one of my reservation tokens in another area. Another thing that you can do, if you don't have that reservation token, you can always use a standby access, which means you call them up the day you want to use the boat. Hey, do you have a boat available? We do, and you can go out and use it as many times as you want on that standby basis, but you can just have reservations with the number of tokens you have based on your level. Training is provided. Because the clubs own these boats and they want to keep them in good condition, they're going to offer some training. Now, the training's typically pretty good. You're going to get local knowledge. You're going to get knowledge of the actual boats. You're going to train at the marina that you're using the boat, which is super nice. And again, the biggest pro, it's the easiest way to boat. It's just the easiest access to the water. There are some cons though. Reservation limits. You probably thought about that already, right? The number of tokens that you have it could limit your access to the water depending on some different things we'll talk about in the next section. But you've got your weekends and holidays are going to be the hardest time to get. That's when most people have access to get out of the water for hours at a time. And so if you want the 4th of July weekend, you're probably going to have to reserve that months in advance, and then that could take up 2 of your reservation tokens if you want to do, 2 different half days or a full day on those holidays or even the weekends. That can be challenging to have those restrictions. The time restrictions, there's also typically no night usage. So if you reserve the morning spot, that's going to be from this time to this time, not necessarily 4 hours. So if you're running late, you don't get to the marina until noon and your reservation ends at 2, Well, you need to have that boat back by 2. So that's very strict. Most clubs don't allow their boats to stay out past sundown. So that means you got to get the boats back at that 7, 8, 9 o'clock time frame, whatever it is for your club, and there's no nighttime boating. For me, that's a huge negative. I love boating in the evening and into the night. It's not uncommon for us to put the boat on the trailer at 11 o'clock or midnight after a full day out of the water because it's so relaxing and everybody goes home to go have dinner and get on with their life, and we're out there enjoying the cooler weather and the nicer boating time for us. If you're really into fishing, they typically don't have super high-end electronics, no side scan or live scope or any of that stuff, no radar. So that's going to be, typically they're going to have just base electronics, and then damage to the boat before your reservation, right? So you've got an afternoon reservation, boat goes out in the morning, they do something dumb, they damage it, and now that boat's not ready for you when you get there, or maybe they have to cancel your whole reservation. That can happen. That's a major con, especially if you're really looking forward to it. So who are some of the players out there? Well, the biggest ones are on this list. There's some regional players as well, but Freedom Boat Club, owned by Brunswick, the company that builds Sea Ray and Bayliner and Harris, Boston Whaler, they own Freedom, they own Mercury, Mercruiser. Some of those corporate owned by the corporation, some of them franchises that are owned by independent people, run them to Freedom standards. CareFree, another real big one, been at it for 20 plus years. They're a licensing program. So you license the CareFree name, their technology, but they really run on their own, however that licensor wants to run it. Destination, JetRide, that actually recently bought CareFree a year or two ago. Then SafeHarbor, Nautical. Those are marinas that run their own boat club out of the marina. Your boat club, Beta Bay, are up in the Minnesota, Wisconsin, upper Midwest area. And then there's dealership clubs. So a dealership that sells boats may have a club. Lake Norman Boat Club. They are Lake Norman Marina Boat Club. John suggested I do this video, gave me some of the cons, and he's like, hey, this is what I think you could do. So I appreciate it, John. Thanks for the idea. And so dealerships have clubs. That's a great situation because, hey, they've got brand new boats and they're really doing the club as a way to sell new boats in the future and to build their brands up in their local market area. And so typically they run really good clubs. Now, couple of things. Because the clubs are very local, we talked about Freedom, some of them are corporate, some of them are franchise, CareFree, they're licensees. The dealership clubs run different. There's independent clubs that just, hey, I've got some boats and I want to run it. That's how Destination Boat Club started. And so their experience is going to be very local. So I would love it if in the comments, if you've had experience with the boat club, tell us what club, what location, and about when you were a member and what your experience was. We loved it. The dock hands were awesome. The boats were clean. We could always get a boat when we wanted it. Or it was terrible. The boats were always broken down. We never had a good experience. We left it and we ended up getting out of boating or bought a boat. Let your comments so that people know what real world experiences are and have an idea locally of what's going on so they can make a better informed decision on what club to join. Because I can't say join Freedom. They're the best. Because the Freedom in Tampa is different than the Freedom in Lake of the Ozarks, is different in Freedom at the, in Charleston. So that's going to really, really matter. So here's some tips to get some discounts on that membership sign-up fee. They often have discounts in the off season at boat shows, sometimes at their events that they run to really get a bunch of sign-ups. Make your reservations early. Use those reservation tokens because the boats do book up on those busy times, holidays, weekends, and you'll kind of get a feel for your club. If you can use it during the week, I think boat clubs are amazing for folks that can get out during the week. Matter of fact, a lot of them have a weekday membership level that's a lot lower because the boats, they've got 10 boats and only 3 of them go out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where everybody wants to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That can be a great opportunity to get on the boat a ton, but just do it during the week. I think it's a better time to boat anyway. That's when I like to take my family out, when everybody else is gone and I got the water to myself, but the weather's perfect. Talk to current members and check out the boats outside of the events, okay? So here's what happens at the events. They're gonna get their best boats in the best condition, polished up, looking great, but I wanna see, what do the boats look like on just a random Saturday, right? Are they clean? Are they on time? Is the staff friendly? When I talk to somebody walking down the docks, they're going to give me the real scoop, and they're not curated like they would be at an event. They're going to have their top customers at the events saying, talk about how good we are. But if you just stop by on a Saturday or Sunday, you're going to get a more real experience. You're going to see how they operate. It's kind of fun to sit around at a marina and watch what's going on anyway. You'll learn a lot, but you'll get a sense for the club and how it's managed. Maybe even get to know some of the people that you would be working with every day. Do you like them? Great. Could be the perfect club for you. Is there some sketchiness going on? Great. Maybe you should stay away and find something different. And then ask about the boat to member ratio. I think this probably is the most important piece of information outside of do they have the type of boats I want to operate, is how many boats to the number of members. They range anywhere from 6 to 1 on the really low side to 10, 11 boats to 1 on the high side, which means if they're 11 to 1, that means it's going to be harder for me to get a reservation on the busy times. If they're 6 to 1, it's a lot more likely that I'll be able to get access to a boat when I want to get access to it. So that's a real critical ratio. And again, because they operate locally, what happens in one area may be different than what they do it in another area and how they actually put this into play. Okay, so if you're looking to join a boat club, take advantage of their training. Even with the training, I've had customers that have invested in my Best Boat Captain, the total boat control in 47 minutes portion, and they say, listen, the training was great on site, but having access to your programs that are 24/7 on demand, I can watch them, I can take it out on the phone with me, and I can, instead of just drinking from a fire hose, I can take my time and go through it, and I can really absorb it. They invested in this program, and it was a fantastic opportunity for them. So if you found this valuable, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, leave your experience, leave your questions, and you won't have to break out another 1,000 with the boat club, right? Unless you make a mistake and damage the boat, everything else is taken care of for you. Can be a great option, and we'll see you on the next video.